The Houston Texans will host the Oakland Raiders on Saturday, January 7th at NRG Stadium, which is the site of this year's Super Bowl 51. This is a game that has really changed over the last 2 weeks, as quarterback injuries have negatively impacted both teams and may have also cost the Raiders a first-round bye. Houston is favored by 4 points as sharp money has gotten involved in this game early on in the week to effectively wipe out all the -3 lines that were out there. The low total of 36.5 points tells you just about everything you need to know about this game. These two teams met in a neutral site game in Mexico City earlier in the season, and Oakland won 27-20 and covered as a 6.5 point favorite. The Oakland Raiders were 11-5 to the over this season, but this is easily their lowest total of the season. Oakland was 12-4 straight up during the regular season and 10-6 against the spread, but they are 0-1 straight up and against the number without Derek Carr. When Derek Carr went down mouthing the words, "It's broken," Raider Nation hung its collective head. Carr meant a lot to this team as he completed 63.8% of his throws for 3,937 yards with 28 touchdowns and just 6 picks. Backup Matt McGloin was supposed to take over, but he lasted just 15 passes before suffering a shoulder injury in Week 17 against Denver. He's questionable, which would leave third-string quarterback and NFL rookie Connor Cook as the primary quarterback. Cook was 14 of 21 for 150 yards, a touchdown and a pick against Denver. More than ever, the Raiders will need to rely on a talented group of skilled players. Latavius Murray ran for 4 yards per carry, but the Raiders may try to run outside the tackles more with Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington, who both ripped off well over 5 yards per pop. Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree both finished the year as 1,000-yard receivers, but that was with Derek Carr throwing the majority of those passes. The Raiders do have a great offensive line, but a lot of dressing will be needed to put on this quarterback. Pro handicappers have been waiting for the other shoe to drop with the Raiders this season. This is a team that has won with its offense, and it has outscored opponents to hide a very bad defense. That luxury is no longer there. The Raiders allowed over 6,000 yards this season and were one of only 7 teams to do that. Because they finished second in the NFL with 30 takeaways, they were able to limit the damage to 385 points against. But the job is so much harder without the safety net of a great offense. Oakland's rush defense allowed 4.5 yards per carry, which is something that could haunt them against Lamar Miller and the Texans. For all of the great things Oakland's offense did, they only outscored opponents by 1.9 points per game and were outgained by 2 yards per game. That's not a recipe for a 12-4 team. With the Derek Carr injury, this is not how Raiders fans envision the team's first playoff berth since 2002, and what might be the last playoff berth ever in Oakland. The Houston Texans finished up their regular season with a loss to the Tennessee Titans to fall to 9-7 and 6-9 against the spread. If there's a silver lining for the Raiders, it's that Oakland drew the Houston Texans. Winning 12 games and missing out on a division title still has its advantages when you can draw the weakest of the division winners. Some Houston players seem to be re-energized by the fact that Tom Savage was taking over for Brock Osweiler, but Savage suffered a concussion in Week 17 and his status is doubtful for next weekend. Brock Osweiler threw 510 passes during the regular season, so it's not like he's coming in cold, like McGloin or Cook. The problem is that Osweiler threw more picks than touchdowns and only completed 59% of his passes, despite an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller V. The player in the spotlight this week is Lamar Miller. Miller has battled injuries late in the season, but he sat out the last 2 games and should be as close to 100% as he has been for a while. There's no doubt that the Texans have the better defense. Houston was half a yard better per carry than the Raiders and held the opposition to 2.3 fewer yards per reception. The Texans didn't have the same big plays and turnover luck that the Raiders had, but this is a much stronger defense all around at just about every level. Houston was without J.J. Watt all season but still managed to hold opponents to just 5.1 yards per play, which put the Texans in a 3-way tie for 5th in the NFL. Because Oakland now lacks the ability to generate explosive plays without Carr at quarterback, we see this total ticking down into the mid-30s. Houston only had 17 takeaways to Oakland's 30, however, so turnovers could determine the outcome of this game, and both starting quarterbacks will be prone to making mistakes. It's hard to see Oakland sustaining any semblance of an offensive attack. The system was being groomed for Matt McGloin, and now he may not even be able to play. For the Texans, at least Brock Osweiler has played a lot this season. Houston has the better defense, especially against the run, and since this game will feature a lot of first and second down runs, it's not fun laying a number like this in the playoffs with a severely flawed team, but Oakland has a big mountain to climb. Our pick and prediction is for the Houston Texans at -4. For our pick and prediction on this game and every other game this week, and a wealth of free stats and information, check out bangthebook.com.